Stay on your heels, baby. Come on. GTFO, oh yeah. Hop on Anthony Edwards for Finals MVP right now, plus 550 at our good friends at BetMGM. He had a big weekend this past weekend, dominated the Denver Nuggets. So I ask you, Joe, GTFO or oh yeah on Anthony Edwards, NBA Finals
GTFO.
MVP.
Oh,
Yeah,
come on.
GTFO. Not getting out of this series, so that means he can't be the NBA Finals MVP. I understand why the number is so short. See, now the third favorite, it's kind of ridiculous number at this point. After Denver wins tonight, I'm curious what that number
It
is
bounces
going
back.
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
But yeah, no chance.
Oh yeah, hop on it. Let's jump on the bandwagon. I'm mad I didn't jump on this at 750 a week ago. I got it yesterday morning at 650. Now it's down to 550, and that's without another game being played in the series. Are you kidding me? Lots of steam because this guy is having a breakout postseason at the age of 20 freaking 2. Um, if so, this is also a balance of the portfolio, for lack of a better way to put it, because I've got a wild future on a Mavs Knicks final, which is ridiculous that I made months ago. I've got Knicks Eastern Conference. I've got a Nuggets Celtics matchup in the finals ticket. So let's diversify the portfolio. It's a better number than the T Wolves at 6-1. Only slightly better when it was at 650 when I got it. Now it's if you believe in Anthony Edwards as Finals MVP, it might be smarter to go with T Wolves to win the finals at 6-1 if it's still there and a better number than Edwards MVP. But I'll say hop on the Anthony Edwards bandwagon for now before the number gets even shorter.
Mm-hmm.
All right, hop on it now, folks. GTFO or oh yeah, Celtics will sweep the Cavaliers plus 190. GTFO, oh yeah. Side question too, Joe O. Is this number a little too short? Are you kind of surprised by this number? Because plus 190 is not a lot.
It's not, especially for a sweep. But am I surprised by it? No, not when you see the series price and what that's out to you. Depending what book you look at, I've seen minus 1,400, minus 1,800 for Boston. Everybody's all in on the Celtics. What I do find interesting is a sweep is plus 190. 4-1 Celtics, so Celtics in 5 is also plus 190, the exact same payout. What you're not asking me this, but what I would do is I am so torn between those two. I would lay the minus 170. Cavs aren't getting 2 games. And I'm assuming Jared Allen is not going to be playing in this series. So that's what I would do. Will they sweep them? God, there's so many times Boston just does a no-show once. And then you could be so close to it, and then it's just ruined because they do a no-show in that one game. Donovan Mitchell goes off, steals one. So I'm going to do a GTFO. I'm not going to take the Celtics to sweep, even though I want to, because I would love to see the Cavaliers get swept.
When we look at this division, Lamar's still the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. It's hard not to install them as the favorites, and I get why, although I've made a pretty strong case over the last week or two whenever we've brought up the North and the Bengals in particular, that it feels like some people, Joe, have forgotten Joe Burrow should be healthy and ready to go again this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's always, but is he going to stay healthy? That's always the question we ask about Joe Burrow. Because if he is, he can win an MVP. They could win the division. They could be one of the top seeds going into the playoffs. But that is so difficult to project out. Like, that's the big question. I do. Don't you have some security a little bit? Like, it doesn't guarantee anything in this sport, of course, especially with all the quarterback injuries that we saw last year. But we would say it ad nauseum. Fix the offensive line, protect Burrow, fix the offensive line. That's their biggest need. Needs 1, 2, and 3 for Cincinnati. Are we now at a point where they've added so many bodies over the years where, and now the latest Orlando Brown, are they fine? Are they fine there as they continue to rework it? You know, Karras this is going to be the center. They keep bringing guys in all over. Kappa. I mean, you got Trent Brown on the right side, Orlando Brown on the left side. Boy, there's a lot of miles on those tackles.
So that's why
that's the concern.
Yeah, that's why I like the draft pick of Amarius Mims, the behemoth out of Georgia. He probably isn't a day one starter in the NFL because of the lack of experience at the collegiate level, even with a team as good as Georgia. So I think you have him ready to go, sort of break glass in case of emergency if something happens to Orlando Brown or Trent Brown on the other side. I do think they've done enough over the last 2 to 3 years to sort of patchwork together an offensive line that should be able to keep Joe Burrow upright. What I'm curious to see is how do they, I mean, they do lose Tyler Boyd, who I understand you're talking about your third wide receiver, but he was a great complement to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as a third wide receiver. They have some other guys that they believe can backfill there. They've gone out and added Gesicki as a tight end, who's a legitimate threat in the middle of the field and in the red zone. But how do they handle the departure of Joe Mixon? Joe Mixon was the kind of guy that if you needed him to, could take the ball 20 times on a given week and balance the offense. And he might not get you 100 yards. There was a chance he could, but he might not. He might only get you 80, 85, but he might get you 20 touches and 85 yards on a given Sunday. And it's not enough to win you the game, but it's enough to balance the offense out that Joe Burrow doesn't have to drop back 43 times. That's what you want to avoid. Is keeping some balance and some unpredictability in the offense. I don't think a combination of Zach Moss and Chase Brown necessarily does that for Cincinnati. I don't know if there's a serious threat from that run game, which is what I would worry about.
See, that's not a concern for me. I think they're just going to be fine between both guys. More Zach Moss probably to start. I think they'll be all right and improve behind an improved offensive line. My guess is what we're going to see is all-in efforts for the Bengals because they know that T. Higgins probably not there much longer as he plays on the tag this season. So I'm not as concerned about that. And part of the reason was, you're right, there is a volume guy and he wouldn't have the explosion, not lately, but there's a reason they were fine moving on from him. Once there was contact, Mixon was going down. I mean, that's what we saw this past year. Not much yards after contact. In fact, one of the worst in all of football. So that's why I think they'll be okay. They'll be okay with that combination. The defense probably needs to be talked about more because when they were winning, when Joe Burrow was healthy, I know that's the biggest reason they were winning. But also the other part was they were viewed as a top 5, top 10 defense, and they took multiple steps back last year, right? Multiple people stopped talking about Lou Anarumo as a head coaching candidate because his defense was not performing. So in this division, which is always difficult, are they going to be able to get back to where they were? Made some changes at safety. So I mean that's going to be big. I mean, there's still some players that aren't talked about enough, like Trey Hendrickson, like he's phenomenal. But I want to see what the defense can do because they got to get back there.
Their front four is way underrated. Way underrated. The problem was, I think they were trying to create pressure last year that left them susceptible on the back end, either A, when they weren't getting home, or they were having to bring one too many guys to create that pressure. They lost Jesse Bates, and it was obvious. You go out, you get Geno Stone from a division rival, by the way. You get Von Bell. I feel much better about this team on the back end this year. I don't think they're going to get carved up in the fourth quarter by a rookie quarterback like they did last year by C.J. Stroud. And C.J. Stroud is an extreme example, but that game, I think, is a microcosm of what happened to their defense all year long, that loss to the Texans.